What do you get when a legless lad and a blind bloke walk into a bar? A couple of mates on a mission to challenge what it means to be tough.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Talking Tough. I'm really pumped to be here. I'm joined by my great mate, Ben Pettingill. We've got a fantastic guest today. Talking Tough is a podcast about redefining what it means to be tough in the modern world, and it's proudly brought to you by Ski for Life. Benny, I can't wait to get into this episode. We've got a great guest. It's going to be fantastic.
Mate, I am bloody pumped. We've got Joel Sardi here. Joel, thank you so much for being here. How are you, mate?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Benny. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us a bit about yourself.
Mate, I came to know you blokes probably 2 years ago when I started working for Get Skilled Access. And it was there where I started working in the disability space, and I really liked it. But I'm not someone that's had disability his whole life. I was 22 when I acquired my spinal cord injury, and that's where I really started to see things differently. Up until then, I lived a pretty independent life and lived interstate. I was in the army, deployed to Afghanistan, and played footy when I was a junior and basketball as a kid, and had a pretty cruisy life.
I'm straight away interested. You said you acquired your injury or your spinal cord injury. That's something we're going to get to. But you mentioned the army. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Obviously, you think about the army, you have to be incredibly physically, capable and active and those sorts of things. So take us back there. So you grew up, you joined the army. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then your deployment to Afghanistan.
Yeah, so playing football as a kid, I always loved being around the boys and doing the physically straining or the physically testing things, and I heard the infantry was similar to that, so I joined the army, and it was correct. It was physically tough, it was mentally tough, and the people I met, the friends I made, the experiences I had were incredible. And if you talk about talking tough, well, you're in an environment where you're tested and judged physically.
So your toughness is measured on your physical ability, more or less. And mental ability, or is it mostly physical?
Well, the mental part comes in because if you're not able to follow instructions or pull a weapon apart or pull it together or actually do what a soldier's supposed to do at a high level, then you sort of get ostracized by the other soldiers.
Yeah.
And that's where becoming physically tough sort of can almost sub that out, sort of take its place. And that's why the infantry, when I was in there, was a very, not toxic, but because toxic sounds bad, but it was very masculine. It was very testosterone filled. What you could do physically was a true reflection on you as a soldier almost. So, having deployed to Afghanistan and spent nearly 5 years in the army, I thought it was pretty physically tough and robust. And then when I got back from Afghan in 2014, I got back at the end of 2013. Mid-2014, I lost my balance 3 flights up on the staircase and fell onto my back and broke my neck.
Wow.
So became a quadriplegic straight away. And that's where I learnt what tough actually is.
Wow.
Like when you just say that you're up the top of a flight of stairs, was that at a party at home? Like how did that all come? Who was there? What happened? Can you tell us a bit about that actual story and time?
Yeah, and when I say, I learnt tough, I didn't learn it there and then. I learnt it over the next few years. But to bring it back to the event, I was at a venue, let's say. It was a bar, and I was there for the end of season football trip. No, I wasn't drunk. Everyone asked that. I was probably going to be if I didn't fall down the stairs.
I was on the way there.
Yeah, definitely. At the time I was a pretty big lad and could drink a bit, but when I fell, I hadn't been drinking heavily, and I just lost my balance. And imagine a spiral staircase. When you look over the handrail, you look down. It's a steep drop, and as I did look down, apparently that's where I lost my balance and landed on my back. And then, concussed. When I came to, everything was a daze, but I recall just being paralyzed and laying on the floor and not being able to move a limb.
So you came to in the bar at the bottom of that staircase?
Yeah.
Bit of a gap. Was it sort of like after 10 seconds, few minutes?
I couldn't tell you. No.
And you had just people surrounded you and you just couldn't move.
Yeah. And
wow.
Something that sticks with me still is the fact that I was trying to move and I couldn't, and I tried to yell out help and I couldn't. And
so
there were
couldn't
people
even speak at all?
Well, Mike, so when you have a spinal cord injury, your diaphragm's paralyzed. Well, for quads it is.
Okay.
Diaphragm, use it to yell, use it for breathing. So you might hear me having to stop, have a breath because it affects my breathing. But it also affects how to yell, how to project your voice. So I couldn't yell, and I was on the floor, and there was music, there was people, it was very loud. And instead of people coming to my aid, they were filming me, taking photos, and I was there whispering like, "Help."
So what were the? So hang on, I'm trying to compute this. You've got people. You've just fallen down. Were the people taking photos unaware that you'd fallen downstairs?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know what they were thinking.
Was anyone trying to help you and lift you up? Which obviously no
one came to my aid physically. It was absolutely coincidental that my housemate actually almost stepped over me and found me there. We did go to the place together, but he found me there and he came down, and I whispered like, call an ambulance. I can't move. And then that's where
panic.
Yeah, absolutely panic, shock. What the fuck's going on?
I can't even imagine. Now you
are you in pain as well?
No, but what I remember, Benny, I had so pins and needles in your feet when you get a dead foot or a dead leg.
Yeah,
I remember those days, Joel.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Those good old days.
Yeah, well, you and I could probably say the same.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So you had that all over your body? Or?
Yeah, mate,
wow.
from like tip of my head to the tip of my toes.
Mm.
And that the absolute naive mindset I had was, I got pins and needles, I'm going to be fine. And it's just like a dead leg, I'll be good. I'm in the army, I'm invincible.
And so your mate there, he's sort of starting to think, well, something's actually wrong here.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
Yeah, well, ambulance took me to hospital. Neurosurgeon had spoken to my housemate before I went in. Alluded to him, look, if Joel does have spinal cord injury, this is what his life may look like. So in the pre-surgery room, I was waiting there, and my housemate, again, his name's Blairy, let's just say his name's Blair, it's easy. He was holding my hand, and he was shocked, he was crying and everything, and I said, Blairy, it's going to be fine, I've got pins and needles. I'm going to be sweet. I was pretty wrong, but I had to give my permission to sign, put the iPad to the pad of my nose to sign my consent because I couldn't move my arms, obviously. And then went into surgery, and day and a half after that, woke up.
And at this point in time, when you're signing consent with your nose,
it's a big one. It's a big one.
Big nose. Well, I can't see it, but I'll trust you on that. Does anyone in your family know at this point in time what's going on?
I think Blairy had called my parents or my mum, but this is like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. by the time I got to the hospital. So it was a pretty big shock, and I learnt that because I was just talking to mum about it 2 days ago. She jumped on a 6 a.m. flight the Sunday morning with Dad to fly across from Melbourne to Adelaide.
Oh, so you weren't in Melbourne?
No.
So
my accident,
right. So
my
you're
accident
not
happened in Adelaide.
Not near home, right? Eh?
No. I think that made it a lot worse as well for mum and dad. I think about it like they had to, now being a father, if I got a call to say my kids had had a fall interstate and they were, I was helpless. I couldn't help them.
You got no home base, do you?
I thought, yeah. So they flew over the next morning, and they were at my bedside when I woke up with my uncle and my girlfriend.
Unbelievable.
Far out.
Yeah. And did you do most of your recovery in Adelaide, or they ended up transferring you back down?
No, I spent probably 10 days in Adelaide.
Yep.
And that was a really critical time because after spinal cord injury, your nervous system's fried and you sort of go in and out of, I think, consciousness, but then also spinal shock. So, yeah, it was a rough time, obviously, a traumatic event. There's going to be some shitty times to follow. And then I was transported to the Austin hospital, I think it was 10 days after my accident.
Okay. Did all your rehab at the Austin?
Well, yeah, there's a ward called the Royal Talbot Hospital in Kew, and there's a spinal cord injury ward. So I spent literally 12 months there.
Yeah.
Right. Mate, I want to, that's obviously the physical rehab side of things, which would have been incredibly important. Don't want to dismiss that for a second, but I want to understand what's going on in between those years at that point in time when you're waking up in Adelaide, your family there, like what sort of news are you hearing from the doctors? What's going on inside your head at that point in time? Oh,
it's amazing how much you can think, how many thoughts you make in a day. I think it's like 30,000 thoughts we make in our head. Like in a day.
Ridiculous. Yeah, some huge number.
And imagine if you can't move your body what your brain would do. Like just imagine that for a second, because every time I would wake up from whatever sleep I'd had, or if the drugs had knocked me out and I wake up and I'm trying to move my legs or trying to move my arms and they weren't moving, and I was 22, so I thought, like, well, what the hell's going to happen with my life?
Yeah.
So a lot was going on between the ears, Benny.
What sort of stuff?
Well, everything I was never going to do, people that were going to leave me, how bad my life was going to be purely because I couldn't walk. Because if you can't do things like you used to, it's almost like you can't do it at all. And that's what my mindset was.
Understandably so.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a room full of blokes that have had severe trauma or changes to their life. And if you think pre and post that significant incident, I guess at that time during the trauma, if you think that, well, I can't do it like I used to, then do you reckon you were thinking you can't do it at all? Am I making sense?
Oh, 100%,
yeah.
mate. I can. I'm just sitting here relating.
Mate.
Absolutely. Like, I was thinking, right, if I can't see, I'm not going to be able to drive, so therefore I'm not going to be able to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Like now, like me and my main man Harry, the taxi driver, we go absolutely everywhere together. But like at that point in time, I'm going, well, if I can't drive, how am I going to travel? How am I going to get to work? How am I going to
catastrophize?
100%. Because you're not thinking clearly.
There's no light there, is there? In those early days.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yeah. And you mentioned before, like, if we can take it back a little bit, you mentioned before about, the military and the pressures and I guess the masculine culture within the military. For some reason, for many reasons, that's probably a necessary thing, given you're in a high stakes environment.
Yeah.
And you said that you weren't really sort of drawn to that thing, but you spent 5 years in the military where, you said you realized what toughness was. So going back to that and growing up, obviously not having a disability or anything, what did sort of toughness mean to you as prior to your accident, your injury? What did that mean? And particularly when you were involved in the military, and obviously that's probably shifted. I'm hoping to hear you talk about how that shifted through your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, look, we grew up in a time. Well, I'm not that old, but through the late 90s and early thousands, where mental health wasn't really much of a conversation. Yep. And I think it was a footballer for Hawthorn, Nathan Thompson.
Yeah.
I remember it was on the footy show and someone spoke about mental health, and it's like it was a footballer with four heads. No one had ever heard of it. No one had ever heard of the struggles. And I heard of it and thought, oh, like that sounds really bad. Imagine being that guy. And then you grow up watching your idols play football, because that was me. I love footy. Love watching the real physicality side of things. Paul Barnard, Jason Johnson, James Hird, Matthew Lloyd, Essendon, those eras, that era where physicality sort of determined who you are as a man. And as a young bloke playing football, I tried to emulate that.
Yep. And,
I tried to hide the pain, whether it be physical or emotional. And that's what led into, I guess, why I really liked football. Love the physicality, love being disciplined, and if you were hurting, that's okay. You sort of push forward and you achieve things as a team. And that's, what led me to the infantry as well. I loved looking at that sort of being tested physically, creating relationships. Imagine traveling the world, getting paid to stay fit with your best mates.
Yeah, unreal. Yeah.
It doesn't sound half bad, does it?
Draw card. And it's just an extension of a football club culture as well, right?
Yeah. And we're talking about average age of probably 20, 21, 22, where no one's got kids, no one's married. Some people have got girlfriends, but that's not, they're not holding you down from traveling the world because of the way a marriage would, if you know what I mean. Like you're not committed as much. So everything about the infantry was appealing.
Your dependency levels on your physicality and who you are, and obviously that's defining you as a man. You're able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. Then all of a sudden, overnight, you found yourself in a situation where you can't move. Now, I'm noticing you're sitting across from us. You're moving your hands, and you're able to. I'm not sure whether or not you've got movement below your sort of waist area. So was it almost nothing, no movement at all straight away, and then gradually it came back? Or can you talk us through that, how that sort of worked?
And obviously being a podcast, most people will be listening to it. So give us a bit of a rundown of, for everyone listening, what the physical effects are now as well.
So for those listening that aren't able to see, I am a power chair user. I've got no dexterity, so I can't use my fingers. I've got no tricep muscles, meaning I can't extend arm against gravity. I did have nerve replacement surgery, but that's another conversation, to actually give me a little bit of dexterity. So if I open my hands, all of my fingers open together and they close together, as opposed to individual fingers. So imagine touching your index finger to your thumb or to other parts of your fingers. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But the surgery allowed me to open and close my hand and also activate a little bit of my tricep, because when you're a quadriplegic, you lose dexterity and tricep. So as soon as I had my injury, as soon as I broke my neck, there was dexterity gone, triceps gone, bowel and bladder gone, sexual function gone. So imagine that 22-year-old losing your member, not being able to use it like you used to.
It's my worst nightmare.
Oh, mate. Mate, talk about it.
I don't know how to cope with that.
You know, we have a giggle about it, but it's the truth. You know, you're in a hospital in a different state. You've got your family around your bed, and then you mentioned you had your partner at the time, your girlfriend at the time, come across.
Yeah.
Is she? You know, how did that situation work? And obviously the conversation about, you know,
that was interesting.
Talk us through that.
You know, look, funnily enough, that girl, Elisa, is now my wife, and now we have two daughters, two beautiful girls. So that answers your question there about that scenario. But, you know, that thought went through my head that I'm not worthy because I can't not do it as in do it, but I can't live like I used to, or I can't provide physically, because everything that I used to do physically was how I would determine myself as a man.
Yeah.
You know, I would determine because I could deadlift X amount or bench press, or I could carry a pack, or I wouldn't do the dishes, Mike. I wouldn't do it. Or the gardening. Fuck that. No, but, you know, everything I could do physically, I'm like, well, yeah, I can be a good supportive boyfriend or potential husband in the future.
Yeah.
But then because I broke my neck, suddenly, well, physically I'm not there. So therefore I'm not able or worthy. And, you know, that conversation was had, and then it was quickly pushed aside by Lisa, because true to her word, she's not had to change an element of her charisma or her makeup, because she's been supportive from the moment I met her in 2008.
That's incredible.
You know, like she's been exactly the same from then till now. She's dealt with more of my shit than anyone could even imagine.
Yeah.
And
being with you, they're there with you every step of the way.
Yep. You know, we've had our breaks here and there, but, you know, we're married, living in the house with 2 kids.
That's unreal, man.
Yeah.
And are you open in talking or telling us a little bit about some of that shit? Because I know I went through it myself with my wife Amy, where I literally had conversations with her about, I don't think you deserve to be with someone who can't see. And like you said, you're 22 years old and you've got to go, right, as honest as it is, Elisa, we're not going to be having sex for the rest of our life if we stay together.
Oh, look, that's funny because
that's one little example, but I'd love to hear about not necessarily that, but whatever conversations.
Benny, that's funny, you know, that's like where a 22-year-old bloke's head's at. Like, fuck, not going to be able to have sex anymore. Yeah, and for those at home, you can, obviously, you know, I've got kids, so it can happen, but when you watch movies and when you hear the news, or when you see someone has a spinal cord injury, you know, the movie $1 Million Baby, as soon as at the end of the movie, because she's got a spinal cord injury, the only way for her to be happy is by her coach killing her. Like that's what I was sort of brought up to see, what happens to someone after they break their neck. So that's straight away what I was thinking about. You know, when I was in hospital, thinking about $1 Million Baby.
Did you ever think about it?
Yeah, always. Yeah,
you thought about how can I, you know, I don't want to be living in this life. So those thoughts were through your head. How long
Trigger
did they
warning.
last?
Sorry to anyone listening, but definitely
Mate, don't be sorry.
Look, yeah, man.
Do not be sorry for the way in which all our heads work.
Every day, Mike, every day, I would look for a way. I would look for a way every single day. But the dark irony is when you can't move your hands or your legs, you know, you're at no risk of self-harm. But, you know, I tried a couple of times and luckily sought help after that. And, you know, I'm in a really good place now because of actually hitting my lows. But
can you tell us a little bit about the help you sought
and
why it was effective?
Yeah, why? Well, and why did you seek help?
I don't know what actually changed, but it was probably just the fact that, you know, I hadn't been excited or happy in years because of my injury. And it wasn't just the injury, it was other stuff in my life that had led to that. But I realized like I hadn't been genuinely excited or happy or felt true emotion in years. I was just numb. And, you know, like we'd be getting ready to go on a holiday together and there'd be just nothing inside. So I think I was sick of that and probably over the way I was thinking, because there wasn't, like I was saying, every day I would, if I was driving my car, I would think, what would happen if I drive into that pole? Should I just turn into that truck now?
Yep.
I could do it now. And it never happened, obviously, but I was sick of thinking about that every day because I thought that was normal. But obviously it's not now, being many years post. But seeing a psych and being open about not being okay.
And that extends not just to, you know, conversations with your psych, it extends everywhere in your life now with your partner, your friends, you know, okay. So you mentioned just a second ago that you're in a much better place now. I'd love to hear about what have you got to put in your life from a structure and a, you know, consistency perspective that makes sure that you know, can enjoy yourself and can feel emotion and can get excited about things. What is it that you've done and what do you sort of stick to? What are your non-negotiables, mate?
Non-negotiables are my training with my trainer, my exercise physiologist, Philippe. We train minimum once a week, hopefully twice a week, and then I'll do my sessions on my own. And physical exercise is something I still love, even though I can't do much of it.
I was going to say, what are you able to do?
Yeah. I've just finished
I've never been able to see what you can and can't move. And when you say you go to the gym, I go, a quadriplegic at the gym, how does that work?
Yeah, well, I think the same about you, Benny, so I'm going to throw it to you.
No, I want to hear you. I'm interviewing you today.
I've got a ski erg at home. So, you know, ski erg, you strap your hand, well, you don't strap your hands, you'll hold onto it and pull it down. So I can do a fair bit of that because I've got lats, I've got bicep and a little bit of my trap muscles. So I can pull that down for a bit of cardio, do bicep curls, shoulder press. I can recline my chair back so I can do essentially a bench press with a weighted bar.
Yep.
So, you know, it's really up to how creative you can get.
Yeah.
And luckily my trainer, Philippe, shout out Philippe, World of SCI.
Yeah.
He's incredible and we're really good friends. So he's able to train me and they're my non-negotiables, exercise.
Yep.
And being absolutely honest with Elisa, medication. You know, people poo-poo the medication, but I went and got I did a saliva test from the psychiatrist, which tested all the enzymes and how it will break down medication in my gut. So then I was able to work out exactly which antidepressant would be really useful for me, which wouldn't have side effects. And, you know, I've been on it for 2 years now and there has not been any of those bad thoughts. There's not been, you know, I've had dips because, you know, our mental health will dip and peak, but there's never been the lowest of lows like I used to go through every week or every 2 weeks.
And like you say, you just got to find what works, eh? And just be open to it.
Yeah. You read your body.
There's a lot of stigma around stuff like that, but if
oh mate, like early days people would say, oh, don't have medication and it's bad for you, get off it, or what are you doing with that shit? You don't need that. Talking about bad advice, I know we're going to get to that in a second, but there's a reason that stuff exists.
Yep.
There's a reason psychiatrists administer you antidepressants. And I will have that until I'm 6 feet on the ground because why wouldn't I?
Yep.
Why wouldn't I want to live?
If it works for you, then there is absolutely no shame in doing what works. And I think that's really important. And, mate, we'd love to also hear a little bit about what you do to refill your tank. So as in, you've got your non-negotiables, but what do you do for you to keep that mind healthy? What do you enjoy on a daily basis?
It's very simple for me, Benny, Mike. It's when I can, I will throw my oldest girl in the car, not throw her, I'll place her, strap her into the seat, which is a challenge, but I can get it done, and then drive down and have a coffee with her. She has a baby chino. We sit there, and that's the best. Sitting there, listening to her just yamble on about anything.
That's great.
You know, like it's not about living in mansions. It's not about flying jets around the world. For me, it's the simple things, and they are the simple things. And then so say I start work at 9, Benny, I'm working from home. I'll tell my carer to come a little bit earlier so I can have a half an hour buffer so that I can go with Elisa, my wife, Luna and Esme, my daughters, and we'll go to the cafe in Eltham. We'll sit there. We'll have our standard 2 almond cappuccinos, 2 baby chinos. We sit there and we just I enjoy their company for half an hour before work.
Before work.
That's brilliant.
That's the little things, hey?
I couldn't start my day any better than something like that.
And Joel, I know, some pretty dark times in rehab and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And one thing I know that disappears straight away after a life-changing incident is your dignity straight away. Tell us a little bit about that, mate, because you go from doing everything yourself.
That sounds like a laugh of experience.
I've got plenty of circumstances and situations
mate.
myself, but tell us about, some of the more, I guess, the tougher things about getting back to the day-to-day and I guess, integrating yourself into life and doing the things you did before. What are some of the tough things and maybe some of the harder things that you've been through since your spinal cord injury?
Yeah, well, look, we don't have long enough to talk about that. But I remember thinking about when I first broke my neck that I would look out the window and I'd get angry at people who were walking, who were able-bodied, because I just assumed that they weren't going through hardship or they didn't have disabilities I couldn't see. I was probably wrong back then, but the thing that I had to really come to terms with was I would go to bed every night a quad, wake up a quad. Everyone else's life would just roll on. And they were going to school, they were going to uni, working, they were making progress with their life. But I wasn't, just because I had a spinal cord injury. And it was a lot to take in. I'll give myself that. But I wasn't getting anywhere because I was just really dwelling on the fact that I just broken my neck. So being able to come to terms with it, accept the injury and actually move on and be happy with the fact that I had a spinal cord injury and I was still Joel. But the dark days, learning that I had to use a catheter to piss or to shit in the mornings every 2 days. I'd have to have a suppository put in there and, like all the bowel stimulation, all that sort of stuff. Talk about loss of dignity. Well, shit, there you go. Having someone wipe your ass, that's pretty hard.
And that's something you've got to consistently manage still.
Every 2 days. Every 2 days. Yep.
I wouldn't recommend getting a blind support worker for that either.
No. or a larger fella, because when they got to do a stim, just think about
what's
a stim. Well, look, I wasn't going to go there, guys, but we're going to go there now.
What's an all, mate?
Nothing's off limits on this podcast.
So when you're incontinent, you can't actually tense or you use your sphincter muscle, which is what you use to snap on off. And for me to ensure that my bowel's completely empty so I don't shit myself later that day, a carer's got to literally put, I think it's an index finger, in my freckle and tickle around there and ensure there's no more juice in there, chunky or loose. And then
this is every 2 days.
Every 2 days, rotate back and forth, do the around the outside.
I don't want to rub it in, mate, but mine's tensing up.
Yeah.
You're
going 50 cents to 5 cents, are you?
Yeah. Something like
that. That's every 2 days. And imagine it as a 22-year-old, you're waking up from only 10 days ago I was wearing cams and now someone's sticking their digit up my freckle and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And even more so, you're sitting there and because you don't get a choice in the hospital who does your care in the morning.
Yep.
I had a bloke wash my old fella.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Because
that's the worst.
Looking down and he's doing his thing and I thought, nah, what's happening here? So talk about loss of dignity.
Loss of dignity.
You've got obviously a huge adjustment to be able to, you've got every 2 days, you're going to have some sort of system and routine. What about going and traveling and doing those sorts of things airplanes? And then I guess does it land on your wife?
Flight attendant?
Your wife or the flight attendant? Or what happens there?
What are we talking about when we travel?
Planning, when you're traveling, how do you manage that and how do you manage your ongoing care? Because I'm assuming obviously you've got someone coming in on a,
look, if I do an interstate trip, I'll go for one night.
Okay.
I'll go for one night because my mates on the other end can look after me.
Yep.
I don't need a shower. I don't need to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
So the interstates are fine, for one night. But if I have to go for 2 nights, generally I'll bring Elisa.
Yep.
For work, I'm lucky I've got an amazing workplace that actually understands what it is to have disability and the requirements I need. My last job was the same, but I know there's some out there that don't. But if I have to travel, say, more than 6 hours, I can't do it in economy because my blood pressure will just go funny from sitting upright for too long.
Yeah.
I get skin problems on my ass just from not being able to move and do pressure lifts. So I say I have to. I don't have a choice. I have to go business because it's just not safe.
Yeah.
Have you done any of those?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So when I first broke my neck, Anzac House and RSL paid for me to go to rehab in America.
Yeah, right.
And that was pretty cool. That was my first trip on a plane in business class, and I was just chilling there as a quad, like living the dream. It was so good.
Living the quad dream, business class.
You hear a lot about, people that I've got. One of my best mates is quadriplegic. He did the same. So he went over to the States. What's the thinking behind that? Is it that in Australia that it's, maybe the care isn't up to scratch? Because a lot of the time, even high profile Will Murray, I'm sure you're aware of, go over to the States to do their rehab. What's the reason for that?
Well, early days when I first broke my neck, there was this place called Project Walk, and everyone spoke about it as if the mecca for paralysis recovery.
Yep.
So we just followed suit, and we went over there. It was in Southern California, so one, great climate for quads for anyone like paras as well if they struggle with temperature regulation.
Yep.
For context, I can't sweat, so on the reverse, I can't warm up, so I really get messed around in temperatures where it goes from 20 to 8 degrees or vice versa.
So Melbourne's shit.
Yeah, Melbourne's terrible. Yeah. Love Melbourne, but the weather is just really not friendly. So Southern California, it's like an average of 24.
Yeah.
It's quite flat in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Really accessible.
I remember Chance went, friend who's got a spinal cord injury. He went over there, and the thing that sticks out to me, he said that in Australia they treat spinal cord as disabled. In America, they treat you as injured, and the difference between the two.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I remember hearing that, and I'm saying, like thinking about that. So the belief is that you can recover.
Yeah.
If you've got an injury, you can make a recovery from it rather than you are just, you're stuffed, you've got a disability, let's just manage it. There's an element of hope attached to that. Would that be an accurate thing to say, the way they treat spinal cord injury over there?
I think that's a byproduct of the way they just treat people.
Yeah.
They looked at me as another person, whereas here in Australia, early days, I realised and I noticed it, that I would get stared at. People would look at me like I was someone with 15 heads.
Even in healthcare, even like nurse.
Oh, no. Like in a professional setting like that, it was fine.
Yeah.
But there was no talk about you will be fine. Like no one ever told me that.
No.
And rightly so, because you don't want people telling you that when you just have an injury. But over there, they were progressive thinkers. They think outside the box. And I don't think the word occupational health and safety or the phrase exists over there. So, they'd lift me out of my chair. The things they would do just because they gave a shit.
Yeah.
They wanted to see me recover, not to get to what I used to, but just recover to some certain extent. And they were fantastic. So that was early days. Was it worthwhile?
Yeah.
It saved my life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, incredible.
It saved my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in the same physical being or mental being as I am now if I didn't go over there and learn about spinal cord.
How long did you go for? What was it?
A year.
A whole year?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And it was just full-blown hardcore rehab for a whole year?
Yeah, mate. So it was
Of
two
your
stints.
life.
I went for 6 weeks the first time just to get a taste.
Yeah.
And then 11 months the next time. And that was where the 11-month stint, like I dropped 30 kilos. We were working out 5 times a week, 3 hours a day. And as a quad, that's
It's
fair
more
bit.
than a professional athlete, right? Like,
I don't know. I mean, we'd have to ask our friend Dylan, Benny, or
Yeah.
Mike. But yeah, like it was enough for me.
Intense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I loved it.
You loved it. Got into a
loved it.
groove. And your improvements. So you're in Australia, you go over there, your improvements. At the end of the year, where were you and then where did you get to with your physical ability?
I still came back in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But mentally, I'd accepted the injury. I'd found my purpose. My identity was back.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Joel was back,
Yeah.
and physically, I'd lost all that weight, which is really important. And I was able to stand a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more so what upstairs had improved.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm.
Mate, I want to dive a little bit deeper, if I can, into you and your kids.
Mm.
Because I'm dad now. Mike, you're a dad now. I was going to say old man, but a dad now. As in...
Bit harsh.
But yeah, as in when I said old man, like the phrase.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Looking up the old man. Anyway, what I was getting to was it must be bloody hard when I know you'll share with me before, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about it.
Mm.
Like, people think postnatal depression only happens in females. I know that isn't the case. And I know that I've been through different stages now, having my little girl going, she deserves a dad that can see.
Yeah.
Or I'm worried about her because I can't see what she's doing in the backyard. What if there's a snake in the backyard? Have I got all the shit out of cleaning her when I'm changing her nappy?
Yeah.
Like, everything from that to that and everything in between, like constantly questioning whether I'm going to be good enough as a dad for her. I'd love to hear about your experiences if you're comfortable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And thanks for telling me, mate, because I've always thought, like, what would Benny think?
Yeah.
Because I think we all think the same. You know, imposter syndrome exists in everybody, regardless of what you are, actor, politician, athlete, dad. You know, we'll find any excuse to think that we're not worthy. We did it with relationships, Benny. And now we did it with parenting. And you mentioned postnatal depression. Well, absolutely. I had it both times with both girls. The first time was really bad, ended up in hospital. The second time I had 6 weeks leave and I was able to sort of manage it and work through it, but it sucks. You know, it really sucks. And I'm glad we're talking about the kids because I wrote a list of the things that really get under my skin as a quad dad. But then, you know, for everything that I can't do, there is 10 things that are incredible because of my injury. So I'm not dwelling on it, but I wrote a list and let's have a look at them. So not being able to get on the ground and play with the kids, picking them up from the cot when they cry. So when they wake up at night, instead of them calling out for dad, they call out for mum because naturally mum's the only one that's been to get them. Not being able to swim with them, not being able to dress them, and then going out for adventures more than just chuck her in the car, go to one location where someone can help me and go home. So there's some of the things that I wrote down as a list. And the one thing I'm not disappointed about, Benny, and I think we can all agree, is changing nappies.
Get out of that.
Mate, I did one this morning and it was from the back of the neck all the way around and it wasn't great. And I don't know if I got it all, but not my problem now. But yeah.
So and that's a real challenge, but you know, they don't know any different. So you know, Evie's not going to know what it's like to have a dad who can see, therefore she's not going to know what she's missing out on. You know, my girls aren't going to know what it's like to have a dad who can boot them up the arse because it's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, okay, before the switchboard lights up. I'm not going to do it. Relax. Obviously, I'm not going to do it.
Because it
never would have happened. Yeah,
and I wouldn't.
And I wouldn't. That's it. No, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. So I don't waste time on the hypotheticals or the what ifs because why would I? No one knows what if.
And you said it beautifully before. You know, you're taking them down, and your favourite thing in the world to do is to take your eldest down and have a baby Chino and just enjoy your time with her. And you know, I'm pretty sure that to her, you're the most important thing in her world. You know, it doesn't matter about your injury. You're just dad, and the same goes for Ben, and hopefully the same goes for me with Sully. Although he's getting a few black eyes here and there from my legs from smashing into him, so he's slowly starting to work out.
They're not soft.
A little bit of a hazard these days. So we were talking about the other day, and one of my friends actually said, I said, you know, at what point do you reckon Sully's going to say something about your legs? And I don't even reckon he will. I reckon he'll just grow up and then one of his friends will come over and he goes, "What's wrong with your dad's legs?" He'll look and go, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Like that's you know, you're just dad at the end of the day. So I can totally understand what Ben's saying about, you know, are you worthy? You know, are you going to be able to do all these things? And, you know, I think at the end of the day, doesn't it just come down to loving your kids and being as supportive as you possibly can to them, though?
Yeah, and focusing on, I suppose, the things you still can do. Instead of putting your time and energy into the things that you can't. And from a mental health perspective, that's definitely a big thing that I try and do, and it's not easy every day, but it sounds like you're doing the same. Mate, love to hear what's next. What does the future look like? What do some of the goals include? What are you working towards? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, look, what's next? What's next? Well, I'll tell you what's next for me. We're going to go stay in the city this weekend.
Nice.
Tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday night, we're going to go and have a little family staycation. and just being present and enjoying those sort of moments.
Brilliant.
As challenging as they could be, getting out of the house with 2 kids that just scream, creating memories.
I know that feeling. Not with 2, I know it with 1.
Yeah, but creating memories, Benny, is something I really want to do. Just little things, I guess, Mike, like, going to the cafe. But yeah, those little memories are really important. I want to keep creating them. And
awesome, Joel. With all our guests, one of the things we love to do is to throw a few quick fire questions at you.
That we do.
Yeah. Are we able to do that for you now, mate?
Send it.
Righto.
Send it. Strap yourself into that chair, big boy.
Joel Sardi on Talkin Tough.
Strap on.
Schnitty or steak, mate?
Steak.
Steak.
How do you have it?
Medium rare.
Lovely.
Nice. Any sauce?
No.
No sauce.
No sauce.
Mate,
That's
it's
unusual.
a beautiful piece of meat.
Yeah.
Why would you ruin it
don't
with
ruin
sugar
Like
and
mustard or anything?
No.
He said no, nothing.
Just a
Nothing.
standard bit of beef. Salt.
Favorite
Salt.
That's it.
I'm
Beef and
Italian, so salt comes
Okay.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
put on my
nice.
toothpaste.
salt. Where do you go to switch off, mate?
Where do I go to switch off? Oh, the gym.
Gym. Nice.
Ski erg.
Ski, nice.
Book, potty or tunes?
Podcast.
Podcast.
Wow, thank you very much.
Love it. The best place to have a yarn with a mate?
Anywhere where there's something in the background to distract. Footy.
Yeah.
At the pub.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what's the worst advice you've ever been given about your mental health?
If there's anyone that can get through it, it'd be you.
Wow. You copped that.
Yeah, cop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How'd that make you feel? Would you, did you, if you could, would you have punched him?
Yeah, well, at the time, it really confused me, set me off on the wrong track. But yeah, that was some pretty shitty advice. But then on the opposite side of that, someone told me it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the best advice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's okay not
absolutely.
to be okay. Love that.
And you got the last one?
Yeah, last one. What's your definition of tough, Joel?
Oh, definition of tough.
Knowing what you know now.
Knowing what I know now, I guess it's the copying things that don't go your way, accepting them and moving on. As a quad, there's a lot of that, a lot of stuff that doesn't go your way that you can't do, and accepting it and actually looking at what's next or what you can do and finding the joy in that.
Love that. Great advice.
Absolutely. Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for being on today. We've had an absolute ball and super insight. Like the openness and the honesty that you've shown, we absolutely appreciate. I know everyone listening would agree with that. So, mate, best of luck with everything you've got coming up, and just like you said, making the most and enjoying every day with the family. It is so good to have you on.
Thanks, mate. Good luck with the show,
Cheers, Joel.
guys.
Yeah, no, it was awesome talking to you.
Cheers.
As always, if anything in today's episode has either struck a chord with you or encouraged you to pick up the phone and check in on someone, obviously do that. Pick up the phone, check in with a mate or call a mate. And if they don't pick up, you can always call Lifeline on 13 11 14. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Everything you've heard in today's episode will be in the show notes below, where you click to play this episode. While you're there, why not chuck us a subscribe or follow? Catch you next time.